What up guys, SuitMetal993 here bringing you another album review, and this time I've got a very technical release for you to check out. If you're into your riffs and you like them technical, then this is definitely for you. But yeah, this is what I'm going to be reviewing for you today. Yeah, this is a debut album from the band Harbinger entitled Compelled to Suffer. This is a self-released album. Now, if you're not too familiar with Harbinger, they are a five-piece kind of progressive deathcore band hailing from London, and I first got introduced to this band back in, I believe it was 2017 if I'm not mistaken, with the band's second EP entitled Human Dust, which is this one. And this was released under Basic Records, by the way, and I was really impressed with this EP when I first heard it. I loved that it wasn't just your run-of-the-mill another UK deathcore band. It had a lot going for it. It had melody, it had technicality, it had progressive elements in there, and most importantly, it had a lot of riffs in there that I really enjoyed, and it turned out to be one of my favourite EPs of that year. And if you haven't heard this EP, make sure you do so. It is absolutely fantastic. And then after I heard that EP, I went back and checked out their debut EP, Paroxysm, which is another absolutely fantastic, still keeping the formula that Human Dust has, just, you know, Human Dust being released a little bit later. So they were continuing their sound very promisingly. And then fast forward to 2019, and we have the band's first full-length album entitled Compelled to Suffer. I need to say condemned there, but anyway, moving on. Yeah, Compelled to Suffer. It's 13 tracks and runs about 49.5 minutes in length, and I know that sounds like a lengthy sort of album, but I can safely say that it doesn't drag on in any way, means, or shape, or form. I mean, this is definitely one of the most fun and enjoyable albums I have heard so far in 2019. It is your stereotypical Harbinger thing that you can expect, but it is amped up that extra mile, if you ask me, from the riffier aspects of it being pushed that little bit more to give it a little bit more grit behind it, to the melodies becoming more, you could say in a bit more atmospheric in a way, but creating just really silhouetted atmospheres on here and real beauty within it, but then still keeping that really aggressive riff writing that we have come to love Harbinger for. And especially on this album, I think this is so far their best work to date, if you ask me. And if they can outdo themselves after this, I'll be absolutely blown away by it, if you ask me. But we are here to talk about Compelled to Suffer. And yeah, this is an absolute fantastic album, if you ask me. I love all the elements on this album, because I feel like as I said, Harbinger are not just your run-of-the-mill deathcore or tech death sort of band. They have a lot more going for it than just another run-of-the-mill tech death band. I mean, like as I said, they have the riff writing, that, in my opinion, in the UK scene alone, there's not many bands that can riff as hard as Harbinger does. I mean, like, the riffs on this album just blow your mind, because they are very technically executed. Like, you could say they're a bit of progressive technical sort of aspect to them. The only way I could describe it is maybe a bit of like Obscura, Beyond Creation sort of technicality up there, but definitely still has a lot of riff writing that makes you want to bang your head every fucking track that you listen to on this album. The only way I could describe, when the people say what does Harbinger sound, the only way I could really describe it is a mashup of the likes of Lamb of God, As Blood Runs Black, and maybe, as I said, Obscura, maybe. Like, those three bands, if they had a threesome love child, then, if that could even work, a threesome love child, and what would be spat out at the end would be Harbinger, if you ask me. Like, that's the only way I could describe them, because the riff writing definitely has that kind of excuse me, that kind of technical, riffy aspect to it, because the only way I could describe it is like Ashes of the Wake, maybe Sacrament sort of era, where it was quite technically written, if you ask me. That's the only way I could, maybe a bit of Wrath in there for good measure, but anyway. But then crossing that with the the intense deathcore sound of As Blood Runs Black and the melodies of both bands, maybe you could say. But then giving it that relentlessness and intensity on top of that of the likes of Obscura and Beyond Creation to create this really unique atmosphere. And you can hear all those influences left, right and centre when you listen to this album, if you ask me. Like, every element you can hear it, but you can hear it combinating in such a unique way that it's just puts you in awe just listening to it. Like, this is definitely one of the most original sounding releases I've heard in a long fucking time. And there's a lot of people that would say originality is dead, and to some degree I agree with it, but there is some bands that push through the mix that's just like, nah, this is our sound, accept it, basically. And Harbinger have done that with flying colours, if you ask me, from every corner of the angle. And the album definitely, in my opinion, combines all that they've been working for and puts it out there in a really gritty sort of way. So yeah, it's, as I said, 49 and a half minutes long, and in those 49 and a half minutes, you can really connect with this album a lot. It has a lot of elements going for it, from the intricate, very fast and relentless drumming that is on here. That's really, when I say it's intricate, it's really locked in with the guitars very, very well and accents it all so fucking well. And even on top of that, the guitar work is unbelievable here, if you ask me, from the riff writing to the melodies that are on here, and the solos so fucking well. Like, they put me in mind of the likes of Born of Osiris, that when their solos come in, they overpower you and swoop you off your feet, and that's what they do on this album. They swoop you off your feet. They execute with so much poise, and they just feel effortless. They're just there, just take over you, and you're just feeling just listening to it. It is baffling to hear, if you ask me. But like, as I said, the riff writing definitely takes on a kind of like technical, progressive, kind of melodic sort of vibe, but it's still chunky and quite massive sounding, if you ask me. Like, this isn't like a really beefy sounding album, but it just executes so much that it just creates the intensity and the chunk behind it. It really isn't a beefy sound, it's a chunky sound, if you ask me, but it is so clear to hear. Like, every instrument sounds so clear and just so sharp. It has a real sharpness to it that really overwhelms you, if you ask me. But anyway, moving on from that, the vocals is another aspect of this album that I really, really, really enjoyed, and was hoping that the elements that I heard on Human Dust, like the cleaner sort of half screams on there, I was hoping they would be all over this album, like left, right and centre. I was hoping for more of that, and there is a lot more on this album, and they are executed. They just put a smile on your face. And if a record can do that, then that is worthy of a replay, if you ask me. Like, just the vocals alone just make us just bask in their brilliance, if you ask me. But then, not just the half screams I'm going to be talking about, the harsher vocals, like that, like the low kind of mid-range vocals that he uses, kind of put us in mind a little bit of Randy Blythe from Lamb of God, mixes with As Blood Runs Black vocals. Like, kind of, that's also another album that reminded us of that. But anyway, but yeah, they are executed with so much that have a lot of intensity and a lot of grit and sharpness to them, that they just overthrow you and make you just listen to it, because there's a lot of clarity in those vocals. You can hear every word that has been said on this album, and obviously there's a lot of deathcore releases where it's just loads of just lows and you just can't hear it just because of the gargling and stuff, whereas don't expect that on this album, because this is a lot of clarity, a lot of intensity in those vocals, and some really well thought out lyrics. Like, the lyrics on this album definitely blew me away, and it's something, obviously, being a CD collector, when I got this and reading through the lyrics before this video, I was like, wow, just amazing lyric writing, if you ask me. And then finally, I'll top that off with the bass work being incredible, harmonizing with the guitars so fucking well, and cutting through the mix just just fine. Just very, very fine, and it just creates that real grit and determination, but it gives it that little bit of heaviness that it doesn't overwhelm it in any way and takes it away from any of the melodies. In my opinion, the songwriting, everything on this album is just something to behold, if you ask me, and something that I am enjoying the living shit out of recently, and it's definitely one of my favourite albums of 2019. For songs to check out, I'd definitely say what's the song? Healer, Deceiver, or Healer / Deceiver, Celestial Being, The Fear of Sorrow. The Fear of Sorrow is definitely my favourite song on this. The Cleansing, and another one of my favourites, I think it's probably locked in with The Fear of Sorrow, has to be The Red Flower. Definitely check out that song. It will blow you away, if you ask me. That one will definitely... Actually, yeah. The Red Flower is probably my favourite song, with Fear of Sorrow being a close second. But anyway. But yeah, make sure you check this album. As I said, if you're a fan of the likes of As Blood Runs Black, Lamb of God, or Obscura, then this is definitely an album for you, and definitely a unique sounding album. For an overall score, though, I'm going to give this a solid 9.5 out of 10. Absolutely fantastic album, and definitely something you just need to hear in 2019. And I'd just like to say thanks to the guys from Harbinger for sending me a signed copy of the album. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope to catch you guys live again soon, and hopefully pick up a t-shirt. We'll see what happens. But yeah, make sure you check out the new debut album from Harbinger, entitled Compelled to Suffer, and I'll leave some links down below where you can check it out, and also where you can pick it up. And I'll see you until the next video, and remember, stay metal, and I'll see you later.